Okay, in this video we're going to have a look at corrosion, and before we do that, let's have a definition for what corrosion means. So corrosion is the oxidation. All that means is the addition of oxygen, so it's the oxidation of metals. Okay, so it's the addition of oxygen to a metal. For example, let's pick on magnesium. So magnesium is a metal, and if it undergoes oxidation, we're adding oxygen, and that means it forms magnesium oxide, and that would be an example of corrosion. When we talk about iron, we don't say that iron corrodes. We call this reaction for iron, we say it's rusting, but for all of the metals we talk about corrosion, but for iron we refer to it as rusting. And the question is here, what are the conditions for rusting? So what do we need present for iron to rust? So what are those conditions? Okay, so we've got 4 experiments here, as you can see. Let's have a look in this first experiment. In this first experiment, we have got the conditions are that we've got water present. So in here we've got water present, and we've got oxygen that's been dissolved in the water. So we've got O2 because oxygen is present. And what you see happening here, if I slide this in, this is a picture showing you the result of this after a week. You can see in here, if I just get a different colour pen, you can see in here that we are getting rusting forming, and you can see at the bottom of this tube the rust is starting to pile up as it flakes off. So the iron is rusting in the presence of water and oxygen. In this next experiment, we've changed one condition. So what we've got here now is we've got water, but the water that we have got here is boiled water. And what that has done is it means that the oxygen has been removed, so there's no oxygen. And we put a layer of oil on top to prevent any fresh oxygen from getting inside the water. Here is my picture after a week, showing you the test tube with the iron nail in, and you can see that there's no rust at all. So this one here, we've got no rust visible, and this one here, I didn't write it down before, but we'll put there, there's definitely rust forming. Okay. Third test tube is with calcium chloride. The calcium chloride absorbs moisture. So in this one, there is no water because any moisture is being absorbed, but there is oxygen. Okay, there is oxygen. And that is this one here after a week. And again, you can see that in this situation, the iron nail has not rusted at all. So there is no rust present. And the final one is we've got water and we've got oxygen present. So we haven't done anything to this. But what we have got here is a piece of magnesium wrapped around the iron nail. So I'm just going to put here magnesium because we've got that present inside the test tube. This is what it looks like. You can probably see this picture here. Okay, so there's my iron nail with the magnesium wrapped around it. And again, what you'll notice in this one, there is no rust. So we need to look at these 4 situations now and understand what it tells us about the conditions that are needed. Okay, so the first one is if we get rid of oxygen. So if we get rid of oxygen or we get rid of water, then there is no rusting. So 4 things to rust, we need water and oxygen to be present. That's our first observation. However, there's an interesting thing here because we have got water and we've got oxygen present, but here it hasn't rusted. And that's because the magnesium is in there as well. And what the magnesium does is the magnesium, because it is more reactive, it reacts before the iron reacts to prevent the iron from reacting, and this is called sacrificial protection. Sacrificial because the magnesium is sacrificing itself. It's going to go first and react to protect the iron, and the iron will not react until all the magnesium has reacted. And as I said, it's called sacrificial protection. So we now know that for things to react, we need water present and we need oxygen present as well. Okay. Therefore, if we're going to stop iron from rusting, then we need to do a couple of, in some cases, simple things. For example, we could, to prevent iron from rusting, we could have a layer of oil. So think about bicycle chains, they're coated in oil because that means that the water and oxygen cannot come into contact with the iron that the chain is made from. Or we can paint objects. So if we paint an object that's made from iron, the water and oxygen can't get near to it, and therefore it protects the surface. And the final one, as we've seen in our example today, is we can go into a situation where we get a more reactive metal and put it next to the iron, and that leads us to a situation called sacrificial protection, and the more reactive metal will react first, protecting the iron and stopping it from reacting.